Fireside Chat session on creator economy and content. To moderate this session, we have Kalpana Ravi, Bureau Chief Media News for you. And of course, the speaker for this Fireside Chat is Mr. Siddharth Anand Kumar, the Vice President, Saregama India Limited. Kalpana, I request you to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Hi. Nice seeing you, Siddharth. And I hope we have a brilliant chat. I need to know a lot from you. Today, we're talking about creator economy and content economy. So, as somebody who creates content, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think everything comes down to content after all in this new world that we're in. And it's very, very critical to examine all the issues. I think we are at the cusp of a new sort of way to reach consumers in the entertainment industry. And, just like TV started back when I was a kid, and we had a lot of great iconic shows at that time. And if you trace the evolution, you would see a Bunyad, and you would see, I was a kid, we used to see something called Ek Do Teen Char, kids show, a lot of interesting content on Doordarshan. And then TV, I would say, sort of evolved and then devolved. And today we have TV that is only talking to a very, very specific niche audience in the country. It's no longer relevant to many of the educated people in the country, many of the youth in the country. And since I've spent a good amount of time in my career in the TV industry, and I see that, we always wondered what could come and disrupt what was happening in the TV and film business. And, lo and behold, you had this whole OTT wave. And I think now all of us professionals who are perhaps maybe in charge of running a few things, either on the platform side or like myself running a studio, it's incumbent upon us to ensure that the OTT industry doesn't go through the same evolution and devolution process that the TV industry went through. And I think critical to that is protecting creators, ensuring that creators make money, ensuring that their rights are protected. And those are the kind of things which will ensure that we start to build an ecosystem where creators thrive and we can then compete internationally.
True, I understand it. But is OTT also giving rise to a lot of new talent other than people already there on your television screen? Actors, writers, script writers, and others. Is OTT opening up a platform for people who are neither in the films nor in TV, but wanting to explore the medium?
Yeah, it totally has. I think, OTT is still a very broad word. You have the premium SVOD platforms, Amazon, Netflix, Z5. Unfortunately, Aparna couldn't join us. But these, I think, already have a pecking order. Stars are more or less established in these platforms. There might be new stars that we didn't know of, particularly 3 or 4 years ago. But now that we are 3 or 4 years into the process, I think there's a star system that exists. I think commerce, what it does is you start to try and put people into boxes. So you say, "Ke, agar aisa show hai and this is the actor, then this is the kind of cost we should have. This is the kind of budget we should have. This is the kind of return we should expect." So that process is already started. So I don't think it's going to continually lead to fresh talent discovery like it did when it was a new medium in that sense, So for instance, we had a Rasika Duggal, Arjun Mathur, these names, Radhika Apte, suddenly becoming very, very big. Now they're stars. And, the system hardens around the star, right? Their own ecosystem. And then the entire sort of machinery around them hardens as well. Where I think a lot of interesting discovery is now happening is on the free platforms. So YouTube, because lower barrier of entry, less people to determine whether this person should get space on the platform or not. Instagram Reels, TikTok, which unfortunately our government banned. but we have Reels, we have all the other indigenous versions of um those platforms. So those have thrown up a whole new kind of star, and they've thrown up a whole new kind of creator. These are people who talk to a very, very specific niche, but they talk to them very intimately, and they share with them intimate details of their lives. For people like me who's been in the industry for a while, you always had this idea that a film star is somewhat inaccessible because you, as an audience, go to meet them, and a TV star is very accessible because they come to your house. This was the old thinking that we used to have. And today you have these people who are not only entering your house, they're on your device. So you can reach them anytime. And they're revealing to you very intimate personal details of themselves. So the persona of the creator is mixed into the character that they're portraying on screen. I think that's where a lot of talent discovery will happen. So that's a very interesting space that we've all become exposed to and is going to continue.
Tell me, other than Hindi, regional has seen a huge surge now. Okay, regional content is much more viewed today, much more Bharat, and much more accessible. What are your thoughts on these, on the growth of regional?
So I think it's really I'm very happy that it's happened, and the mainstream Hindi audience embracing regional cinema is also like a really, really interesting thing that's happened. At Saregama, we also have a big strategy now to move into regional films. In fact, our entire slate for next year is going to be regional cinema, starting with a Marathi zombie film that we've produced, which releases on 4th Feb. So, we're very much cognizant of this wave. And let me try and unpack it for you to a degree, because, we've spent some time understanding this. So the first thing is that, yes, today the consumer is more likely than earlier to consume something in regional language, and perhaps in a regional language that they don't particularly understand, which has led to, so for instance, you can see Malayalam cinema getting a lot of attention from audiences and critics on premium platforms. I think that's an exceptional thing. I also think in India in general, we're moving away from what I have always felt is sort of a post-colonial heritage, where most of us, privileged, educated Indians are slight brown sahabs. You and I are speaking in English. It's my first language.
Yes.
Unfortunately, because, if someone asks me what's my mother tongue, defined as what is the language I spoke with my mother, it's English. But
Tamilish. That's true. Tamil plus
right.
English. That's what she understands. Yes.
Exactly. So now, and I think when we were growing up, there was this to break the social class that you were born into, you needed English to ascend in India up the social ladder. I think it's changed over time, and I think our film industries and our local sort of language has started to gain more prominence. I find today, even amongst the well-heeled in metro cities, that when you're with your friends and you're speaking intimately to each other, you'll often speak in Hindi, which is our vernacular language. So I feel gradually there's been, as we shed our post-colonial, let's say, baggage, there's a gradual acceptance of the vernacular anyway.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Even with the well-heeled. So I feel that's a very, very interesting phenomenon that is coming up. So now you have regional cinema getting acceptance from Hindi audiences, which is, let's say, national audiences, as well as more acceptance from vernacular from the people of that region itself, right? So I think these factors combine with another very interesting factor. When you're at a premium OTT platform, I think one of your aims is to constantly increase subscriber base, because that's how we look at the success of a platform or not, right? I'm not part of a platform, but looking at it from outside and having dealt with them, it seems very clear that that's, how they determine success or not. And as they need to penetrate to increase the subscriber base constantly, they need to penetrate deeper and deeper into the kind of audience segment. So now naturally you start to say, okay, we've got all this audience that's watching Hindi content. We've got all this audience that's watching English content. We need to go and catch them with the vernacular content. So I think on the, let's say on the demand side, you have this very interesting explosion of regional content, right? What's very interesting for us at Saregama when we examine the supply side also is that somehow we find that some of the regional cinema is a little more advanced than what we call mainstream Hindi cinema. And by cinema, I mean storytelling. Today it becomes TV, filmmaking, right? And I spent a lot of time last year trying to figure this out, just out of jealousy. Ke, aisa kyun ho raha hai? You see a Malayalam film and you're like, yeah, why are they ahead of us? Ho kya raha hai? And then we figured that, it's basically the economics of that business is allowing their filmmakers and producers to take greater risks. So
experiment.
Yeah.
And experiment. Yeah.
Exactly. So you experiment, right? And as you evolve as a storyteller, your audience evolves with you. So, and the reasons for this, the financial reasons, according to me, are that a big Hindi star would charge about 4x of the budget of the making of the film.
Your
right?
75% goes as star salary. Your 25% is what your production costs are. So
right?
that's where the economics falls flat,
Yeah.
And that's why when you start cringing on other things, I think that's
exactly. Exactly. And a regional star generally charges you 1x of the film's production budget, right? So 50-50 ho gaya, from what you are saying. Then there's the marketing expense. When you try to market something nationwide, your basic marketing will become, let's say, 15 to 20 crores basic marketing for a nationwide release, right? Whereas a regional film, even if you want to do big marketing, 2-2.5 crore mein aapka kaam ho jayega. Right?
Because it's targeted marketing.
It's targeted. Yes. So now your risk that you're spreading out, right? Which is not risk that goes directly into your product. It's peripheral money that you're spending is far greater in Hindi cinema. So then if I'm going to spend far greater amount of money, perhaps I'm going to be a little more risk averse when it comes to how experimental my content will be. Can I take a big star and make him a villain? Maybe not. Of course, there have been exceptions in Hindi cinema and these things have happened, but not with not enough stacking for it to become a trend and then evolve the audience taste along with it. So I think this is why perhaps some of our regional cinema is more advanced than our national Hindi cinema, and stars are available at better pricing. Now you have a phenomenon where platforms are looking very deeply into this and they want more and more regional content. I also think the regional cinemas are generally what I like to call maverick economies, where there's a rich person in Dubai or in Canada who's got money. या किसी ने अपनी खेत बेच दी है, तो अब उन्होंने उन पैसों के साथ फिल्म बना ली, right? So it's not exactly professional, clean money always that comes into these. So again, there's a space there for a company such as Saregama to come in and disrupt, right? To bring a little bit of methodology to the madness, which is all we do as a sort of corporate producer, and then reap the benefits of already having deep relationships with platforms, and then bringing the content there, and obviously to the cinemas also. So I think regional is really going to be the flavor for the next couple of years, and
Siddharth, coming to that factor of Saregama shifting to, wanting to do regional cinema. How will your economics work? Let me tell you, you have a Hindi OTT web series and you have a regional, whether Malayalam, Tamil or whatever. What would you be your economics in both of them?
So
you have a big star in both. You have a big star in both. Probably in Tamil, you have a big star in Tamil. In Hindi, you have a big star. I'm not saying a film star, but an OTT big star, like a Pankaj Tripathi or Masse or Vikram Masse or anybody. And you have a star in Tamil or Malayalam. How will your economics work on that for your as a content creator?
So as a content creator, you're not just looking at OTT platforms. I think in Hindi cinema, none of the names you took are viable as far as the cinema, the theatrical window is concerned.
Big screen.
The big screen, right? Because again, We are a country with very, very low per capita penetration of theaters. And I really believe that one of the biggest problems plaguing Hindi cinema is that a film does not get time to increase its business by word of mouth. The first weekend is very important, so you have to spend a lot of money marketing. And 2 हफ्ते में अच्छी film भी उतर जाती. Obviously COVID put a pause on that, but now business is coming back, so we can see it's going back to how it was. So
is social media the spoiler?
I don't think social media is a spoiler. I think in the case of Hindi cinema, the spoiler is the fact that you don't have enough theaters. So it's very hard to command the right timing for your movie, and it's very hard to command a time where, because word of mouth grows slowly. I'll tell you, you saw the film, maybe 2-3 other people have to tell you, picture achhi hai, then you'll go, if you're a person who goes by word of mouth. Tab tak picture utar jati hai. How many times has it happened to us?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I feel these factors sort of, in Hindi, they force you to go for bigger and bigger stars, right? Whereas now when you say it's a creator, when you're looking at a regional cinema, right? You'll get a star who has a dedicated fan following, who has a very, has a trackable box office record, right? The star comes in at a decent valuation. So the star comes in at a cost, which is about, like I said earlier, roughly 1x the cost of production. And you get star dates sooner. So your gestation period on the funds that you're putting aside for that film is also shorter, right? And then you have the benefit that now OTT platforms are also buying. So you get a benefit on the theatrical window, as well as now you have viability with the OTT platforms. So I think that, as far as we're concerned, makes for a very good mix,
Okay.
right? All we need to do is get into those ecosystems and build trust with transparency. And for us at Udly, that's always sort of been the thing. When we started out Udly, our first disruptive idea was that we will start to give, like, in music, creators get royalties, right? So,
okay.
In Udly, anyone who's a creator, so the person who brings us the project, whether it's a director or a writer, gets a royalty on the film, which is a lifetime royalty. So roughly 30% of the profit of the film will go back to the creators in perpetuity.
Is this a Saregama initiative?
Yes, this is a Saregama initiative.
Okay.
So this was one of the
Not
main
yet followed by, okay. Not yet followed by others, I think.
No, and when we start talking about creator economy, for me, these are the slightly contentious things that I feel should be industry wide. I think the people who put together the project, it's very hard to nurture a project when it's an idea. It's kind of like having one little candle in a storm, and you cupping your hands around it, and you're literally blowing it and making that fire bigger. I think that part of it needs to be rewarded. Similarly, when it comes to the platforms, I think one of the big problems that was happening in TV, and I worked in TV for a very, very long time as a director, is that you as a producer would nurture, again, like, using the candle metaphor, you would nurture a concept, you would take it to a TV channel, and they would pass you through 100 meetings. I've been to many of those, right? At least 100
Yes.
meetings. I know from, I read
All
your
of us have been through that, yes.
I know you've done many of these.
I've been in a broadcast, so I know exactly how it goes.
Yeah, and you of course, you were at Sahara also. So, okay,
Yes.
so you do this, right? So then you go to the channel, and finally, you celebrate. Channel is said कि आपका show बन जाएगा, and ये आपका budget है. But then they take IP from you. So many times producers in the middle of their show would be asked to quit, and another producer would come on for reasons that the channel would understand, whatever. But basically, you as a producer were forced to give out your most basic right as a creator, which is control over your own IP. Okay. And not only would you take away IP from the creator, you would also not give them what we call ROFR, right?
Yes.
Which is right of first refusal. So now basically you're saying कि आपने create करा, but because हम पैसा फेंक रहे हैं, हम king है, और आप भाड़ में जाओ. What started to happen, in my opinion, with TV then, is that you started to get lower and lower kind of producers, right? So what starts to happen in any industry, and we should all, like we talk about brain drain, good talent leaving India. When you create an unfair environment for creators, right? As powerful people, which the most powerful obviously is the platform.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you created an unfair environment. All the good creators don't want to work for you anymore. And this happens over 4 or 5 years. So maybe you don't notice it.
Yes, true.
Eventually you're working with mediocre people, you're making mediocre stuff. Then you say, "Arey, uska wo chal gaya, wo hi dal dete hain." So you end up at the situation we've ended up at, where basically good talent did not want to work in TV and still doesn't. Desperate talent is working in TV. Even though I might be mauled for saying so, but I've been there myself and I was desperate. So I can only talk from my own experience, right? So I feel giving profit share to creators, I feel giving IP to producers.
Oh.
I think these are the key tenets that ensure a sort of sustainable ecosystem, and an ecosystem where content will constantly get better and therefore evolve the audience tastes. And eventually you'll get that sort of breakthrough content that you're looking at, that everyone is chasing, that elusive dream of something that goes around the world and becomes like a Narcos or, a Game of Thrones or whatever you have. So I think those things are very, very important, and it's incumbent on all of us today, and anybody who's listening, who's in any position of power, to ensure that it's a nice, fair, level playing field, because then we all grow.
Tell me, Siddharth, we both come from TV industry where we moved on.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm just closing. I just have an answer for it. Don't you think that, we both mourning now that, TV has no content for people like you and me or the youngsters. Aren't you seeing that in OTT with certain genres?
Yes, it's definitely a problem. And that's why I'm saying I feel anybody who's working in OTT today should look back at what happened with TV, so that history doesn't repeat itself. So again, a little bit of bhed chal is happening in the kind of content that's getting made and commissioned. Again, we've moved into a commission model, which I in any case have problems with. And a commission model is basically प्रोड्यूसर आता है एक कॉन्सेप्ट लेके, आप पैसा दोगे, आप आईपी ले जाओगे और आप प्रोड्यूसर को बोलोगे ये दीवार इसमें वुड क्यों डाला है, आप तो लाल कर दो दीवार, लाल दीवार चलती है. So see, once you start doing that, it will then lead to what we are talking about, talent attrition. Good talent will run away, they'll find another medium, even if it's Instagram Reels, and suddenly you'll be like, you and I will be sitting and saying, yeah, there's nothing for us to watch because it's all crap. So I feel that's a big warning sign to all of us. And we need to ensure that doesn't happen. So innovation, level playing field, these are the key words that need to come in.
Okay. Pleasure talking to you, Siddharth. I think we should physically meet up to carry forward this conversation later.
Be lovely.
And yes, Vijay, I hope that your audience have had a wonderful session.
I'm certain they loved it. Like, I shared with you. So we have our OTT Expo next year, and we'll be more than happy to invite you all to the event to catch up and discuss about the OTT platform and the rest of rest of the things about content ecosystem. Thank you so very much for your time, Mr. Siddharth. Appreciate it. Lovely having you. Thank you very much, Kalpana. Indeed. So thank you very much for your time, and once again for the wonderful session.